It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. And now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And good morning to John Frederick's Radio Network. Yes, indeed, we are back broadcasting live from our studios in downtown Nashville. After a little brief hiatus, we went up election night. We were broadcasting live from Greensburg, Pennsylvania. That is a suburb of Pittsburgh there with John Fredericks and several other luminaries. And I'm told that well over 100,000 people on various streaming outlets were watching that broadcast. And I do want to say that we called it first. We called it for Trump at about 11:30 p.m. Eastern time. We beat Fox News by 2 hours. Well, folks, it's that time of day again. It's time for the Morning Rundown, brought to you by the Glock Store on glockstore.com, located right here, just a couple miles away from the airport in Nashville, Tennessee. Here we go. Here's the Morning Rundown for Thursday, November 7th, 2024. Number one, 312 is the magic number. 312. Yes, that is the number of electoral college votes that Donald Trump obtained in a landslide electoral college victory on Tuesday evening. Arizona has been called for Donald Trump by Decision Desk HQ. And in addition to Arizona, Nevada has been called by Decision Desk HQ. So you got the 6 electoral college votes from Nevada. You also have the 11 from Arizona. And look, we laid this all out on our election night coverage. And in fact, when Trump was basically at 267, we told you exactly the order that these would follow. And the order was, first basically Wisconsin, got him to 277. Then Alaska got him to 280. Pennsylvania got him to 299. You add the 6 to Nevada, got him to 305. And then you got the 11 from Arizona got you to 312. So 312 is the number. Way to go, Donald J. Trump. Oh, and the popular vote. The popular vote, folks, a huge victory. 4.5 million votes. He won the popular vote by 3.3%. Now, the other thing that's interesting about that, Kamala Harris now has 67 million votes. Joe Biden purportedly got 81 million in 2020, and Hillary Clinton got 66 million in 2016. Where did those 15 million votes go? They disappeared. Further undermining the credibility of the Biden 4 years in office. Okay, so number 2, the Senate. The update on the Senate. So in Pennsylvania, it's like 52 right now for the Republicans, but Pennsylvania is going to go to McCormick, the Republican. They haven't called it yet, but it's going to go. So that'll be 53. Then to that, looks like Nevada is going to stay with the Dems, barely. Sam Brown just didn't quite make it in Nevada. Arizona, however, is still possible. Kari Lake, our friend, is down by about 2 points, but only 60% reporting. And the 40% remaining is from heavily Republican areas. So that one may take a while. Isn't it weird that Florida was able to report all of their results in 2 hours, and it looks like it's going to take Arizona 2 weeks? I have a solution for that. We'll talk about that a little bit after the break. So there you go, folks. There's plenty more. Oh, I got one more on the Morning Rundown. A big tip of the hat to Governor Bill Lee and the leadership of the Tennessee State Senate and the Tennessee House. Less than 24 hours after the big Trump victory, they introduced the Education Choice Act here in Tennessee They've got all the language down. There's no back and forth. We know all the details of it. That's going to be the first bill passed in the Tennessee General Assembly when they convene in late January, and it will be Governor Billy's legacy. So there you go. There is the morning rundown for Thursday, November 7th, 2024, brought to you by our very good friends at the Glock Store. Now, let's talk about the Glock Store. You know, I was recently with Lenny McGill, the founder and CEO of Glock Store, glockstore.com, and he is just done a terrific job, and we are delighted with everything he's done, and we want to thank him for his sponsorship. You know, he got started, I think I told you this like a couple times before, but what a classic American success story Lenny McGill is. He got started he's from Pennsylvania originally. He got started as a singing waiter right after he moved to San Diego, California. And he was so good as a singing waiter that one of his customers who owned a radio station said, hey, come and help me sell radio time. He started selling radio time, did very well. Then somebody wanted to do a special on guns and a shooting contest for ESPN. Hey, can you help us sell ads for this? He did that. From that, he became perhaps one of the most prolific people on YouTube on the use of guns and how to shoot. And from there came the Glock Store. They were, stuck in San Diego, California for many years, looked around and said, where are we going to go? Well, they chose Nashville, Tennessee, and we're so glad they did. They've been here since 2020. Ever since we started, they have been a big sponsor of the Michael Patrick Leahy Show and the Tennessee Star and the Star News Network. And we're so happy that they have done that. And we appreciate their friendship. We appreciate their sponsorship. And you as our listener, if you want a Glock or a Glock accessory, wherever you are in the United States, go to glockstore.com, glockstore.com, and, you can buy any Glock accessory. Doesn't matter where you are in the United States. glockstore.com. Our very good friends and our very, very good sponsors. So there you go. All right. That's the morning rundown for Thursday, November 7th, 2024. I want to go here now and talk about the meltdown of the left. I want to bring this clip one, which is the Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, after the stunning victory by Donald Trump. Here we go. Clip one.
We've studied their platforms. We've identified certain possibilities, fact patterns. We've created contingency plans. So no matter what the next administration throws at us, we're ready. We're ready to respond to their attacks. We're ready to respond to any attempts to cut or eliminate any funding to the great state of New York, as the governor outlined. So despite what has happened on the national stage, we will continue to stand tall in the face of injustice, revenge, or retribution. We will continue to protect our most vulnerable and marginalized amongst us, because it is my sworn duty and responsibility to lead that fight, working with the governor of this great state, Kathy Hochul. This is not the time to be fearful, New York, but faithful and steadfast, knowing that I, as the Attorney General, along with my entire team, we are guardians of the law.
Okay, so this is a clearly unhinged person. She's the Attorney General of the state of New York, and what kind of statement is that? And her job is to basically defend the interests of the state, but there's been no attack by Donald Trump on the state of New York. In fact, where are the attacks coming from? The attacks are coming from the unhinged Attorney General violating the law, violating her duty by politically attacking Donald Trump. It's not going to end well for her. I can promise you that. All right, when we come back, our good friend Todd Bensman, if all goes well, will be with us. Todd has a report. Remember those 800,000 illegal aliens that were hanging out in Mexico? Well, the election's over. Are they coming our way? Todd Bensman will tell us. Back after this.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
All right, welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. We are joined on our Zoom Newsmaker line by our very good friend Todd Bensman. Todd is a senior fellow with the Center for Immigration Studies, and we have a mystery here that we want to have him help solve. Good morning, Todd. Well, we're trying to get Todd here. Do we have Todd Bensman on the Zoom line? I think I hear him in the distant past here, but Todd, we may actually have to give you a phone call. How about we do that? Let's go to the phone. So our technology, Todd is there, and we're trying to bring him up. Can we bring him up? And oh, there we go. Now we just need to turn up the audio. There we go. Let's turn up the audio. And Todd, are you there?
Yes,
oh,
I'm here.
Hey, success. You know,
Okay.
The Gremlins have decided to just give us a little bit of a trouble today, but we're delighted to have you. Okay, Todd. So, when last we spoke, a couple weeks before the election, you told us about, and you were down there in southern Mexico with what, 400,000, 800, a big number of illegals that were coming from Latin America and all sorts of countries, and they were being held up in southern Mexico. And you said that they're going to wait until the election. Well, the election's over. Donald Trump won. Where are these hundreds of thousands of illegals right now?
So on the morning of election day, two massive caravans set out to test the Mexican government's commitment to holding back the tide, the human tide in those southern provinces. Remember, this is all part of a Biden-Harris arranged diplomatic deal to have Mexico shut down the flow militarily to sort of decongest the political spectacle of our border being overrun during the campaign. So this has been going on for 10 months with hundreds of thousands, when nobody really knows how many, being trapped down there behind the military cordon. So, of course, the idea is, what's Claudia Sheinbaum, the new Mexican president, going to do after, Harris won or Trump won or the election's over? And I think that the immigrants now are trying to test the Mexican government's resolve post-election. Okay, so they've set out, there's probably 5,000 in two different caravans that left on election morning for the U.S. border, Mexico City first, and then the U.S. border. They are en route right now. I regard that as the vanguard of a test to see what Mexico is going to do here. Now, they're on the way. They're walking, they're on foot. So it's going to take a couple of weeks for them to, kind of really move and get close to the border. Others are joining them as they pass through different cities and towns to do this. And they say that's what they're doing. They're like, the election's over, we're going to get in. So one thing about this, though, to watch, and I have a piece about to publish in the New York Post about this, is that the day before the election, Donald Trump at his Raleigh, North Carolina rally threatened the Mexican president and said, if you let any of those people come through here, I will put 25% trade tariffs on all Mexican exports when I get into office. And if you let them keep coming, I'll do 50%, then 75%, then 100% on all of your exports. Sheinbaum clearly heard that threat. She made a comment Wednesday, the day after election, to the effect that she heard that comment loud and clear, but didn't really say what she was going to do one way or another. So I'm hoping that just the threat from civilian Donald Trump might be enough to, have her continue to hold them back, to break up those caravans and hold them back. So that's kind of where we are right now on that.
Todd, I heard what she said, and it struck me as very defiant.
A little bit,
She
a little
said
bit.
she also, and she's like a real leftist. I mean, she's really far left. But she said, "Well, I'm not going to recognize him as a president elect because all the votes aren't in." Hello, I mean, are you kidding me? Uh, that
Well, she also, in her comments hinted that, hey, Mexican's a sovereign country and we're going to act as a sovereign country, meaning maybe she's like, I'm not going to let your threats of tariffs affect me. But the fact of the matter is that Mexico's economy relies almost entirely on its exports to the United States. And I'm not talking about just oil. I'm talking about auto parts and
mhm.
cosmetics, and it's somewhere in the it's a record. The trade between the United States and Mexico is so vast it supplanted Chinese trade with the United States.
Wow.
Uh, 500, $600 billion just this year in trade with the United States. She cannot turn her nose up at that. She can't. It doesn't matter how she feels about sovereignty. And Donald Trump is exactly the kind of guy who will gleefully impose those tariffs to bend Mexico to its will. The tariff threat is back. That's what this really means. The tariff threat is back, and the tariff threat worked wonders in 2019 and 2020 when Trump first put them into play with AMLO, the prior Mexican president, to do this exact military blockade. So when I was talking to you a couple weeks ago, I was not very optimistic. I thought that those hundreds of thousands would go through, but I'm far more optimistic now that the Mexicans are going to shut down some of this movement. But I also warn in my New York Post piece about something called ant operations. Ant operations is a tactic that AMLO used throughout the Biden administration where they break up the caravans purposefully and disperse them among 10 different states and let them proceed in small groups to our border so that it's not visible, but they're all still crossing. They're all still getting there. And so I'm warning in my New York Post piece that's about to publish any minute now for the Trump administration to watch out for ant operations. They'll do it. They've done it all since 2022. They've been doing it, and they'll do it again if we're not careful and paying attention to that tactic.
Todd Bensman with the Center for Immigration Studies. In about half an hour, Joe Biden is apparently going to address the nation. Will this issue be one that he addresses when he speaks to the country?
No, the border crisis is something that they systematically avoided all throughout the campaign, and they were punished and thrown out of office for it because everybody in the country knows what happened now because their cities are full of hundreds of thousands of immigrants driving their municipal budgets way past the brink of bankruptcy, $1 trillion potential unfunded burden on just like Boston and
Mm-hmm.
Massachusetts alone. I mean, you can't hide this thing, even if you try to pretend it didn't exist. One of the biggest mistakes, in my view, that the Democrats made during this campaign is to downplay and pretend that what happened didn't happen. And I believe that that Biden was a chief purveyor of nothing to see here, folks. Don't look this way, look away. I think he's probably going to be stuck in that.
Now, Todd, you live in the Austin, Texas area. Joe Rogan just moved there a couple years ago. Elon Musk lives there. Joe Rogan did his interview with Elon Musk. Has Joe been calling you and saying, "Hey, Todd, come on in and do a 3 hour podcast with me"?
Hey, man, I'm available. No,
Joe,
I haven't
Todd's
heard.
available.
I think if he knew about me, he would call. I mean, I don't think there's anything nefarious about that. He just probably is unaware of me or something.
Todd, we are going to make it our mission to get Joe Rogan to do a 3-hour interview with you because what you say is so very important.
Thank you. Well, we're practically neighbors. I mean, so I mean, it wouldn't be any big deal for me to hop over there or drive over there.
Now, right now, you think that these illegals, hundreds of thousands, may not reach the border. They might. If they do reach the border, what will the Border Patrol do, and what will be the instructions from Joe Biden?
I believe that the Border Patrol it'll be business as usual. They've been under orders since January of 2021 to escort them all into the country, process them all into the country. I think that's what they're still doing.
That's what would happen if they made it. Well, let's hope that the leftist president of Mexico fears the wrath of tariffs and that they don't make it to the border. Todd Bensman, Center for Immigration Studies. It's always such a delight to have you because you bring stuff that no one else brings, and it's very important. Todd, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. When we come back, State Senator Brent Taylor from Memphis will be joining us here on the Michael Patrick Leahy Show.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back. And we welcome to our Newsmaker line right now our very good friend, State Senator Brent Taylor from Memphis, Tennessee. Good morning, Senator Taylor.
Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Well, how could I not be just fabulous? 36 hours after Fox News called the election for Donald J. Trump. And right now, Senator Taylor, Trump has 312 electoral college votes to Kamala Harris's 226. It is an electoral college landslide and 4.5 million popular votes more than Kamala Harris, 3.3%. It is the largest victory by any presidential candidate since 1988. It's a happy day in America. What are your thoughts on this, Senator Taylor?
Well, I tell you, I am extremely thrilled. I tell you, the public finally got fed up, and they stormed to the polls and gave us really the red wave we thought we were going to get 2 years ago. But we got it this time. It was decisive. There is nothing that the Democrats can say the election was too big to rig. We won the popular vote, electoral landslide, as you said, and it is clearly a mandate to bring back common sense. So I'm looking forward to the next 4 years, and hopefully the markets will like it. People will be able to start and grow businesses, and hopefully the rest of the country will begin to look a little more like Tennessee.
Yeah, well, here in Tennessee, big victory for Donald Trump. I think it was, 64-36. Similarly, I think Marcia did a little better. I think it was 30-something in her victory over Gloria Johnson. Although I do think Shelby County went the other way. There were 2 counties out of the 95 counties in Tennessee that went for Kamala Harris. 93 went for Donald Trump. What are you hearing from your constituents down in Shelby County, Memphis area, State Senator Taylor?
Well, my constituents are saying thank God for the rest of Tennessee because Shelby County is a blue county, and Marcia Blackburn's victory over Gloria Johnson, I mean, that was as predictable as a mullet at a tractor pull.
Ooh, hold it. Is that the first time you've used that line, Senator Taylor?
It may be.
I like it. Can I borrow that line?
You can borrow that. You can take that and use it. But look, Gloria Johnson never was in the same league as Marcia Blackburn, and the election showed that. So, yeah, my constituents are happy. You know, I represent East Shelby County, which we're much more in line with the rest of the state than we are Shelby County. But I will say this about Shelby County is even though we're a blue county, there are still more Republican primary votes that come from Shelby County than in any other county in the state. And in a Republican primary statewide, Shelby County represents about 20% of the Republican primary vote. So although we're a blue county, I always remind my colleagues that we're still relevant. We're still a big county, even though we're blue.
Now, the Tennessee General Assembly will not come back in session until, I think, January 14th. You've got a big agenda. We'll talk about that agenda here in a bit. But what does, inquiring minds want to know this, Senator Taylor, what does a Tennessee state senator do when the General Assembly is not in session?
Well, you work like hell trying to hold your DA accountable to get him to do the job he was elected to do. I've told all my colleagues, if you get pissed at your DA, just know that it will ruin your summer. And so I've been working all summer long on gathering information and getting statements and affidavits from crime victims and poring over all kinds of information in preparation of us going into session. And again, I plan to submit a resolution that will allow the General Assembly to hold our district attorney accountable. And so that will be my heavy lift going into the next session is to do that. And it appears to be working. Look, ever since I've started going after our DA, he has found religion on prosecuting people, and he is working working harder than the third squirrel trying to get on Noah's Ark when the rain started to try to prosecute people. But
that's another
look,
one. That's another one. Is that original, or have you used that one before?
Well, I may have heard that one when I was a kid sometime.
A third squirrel.
but look, it's too little, too late. I mean, if you rob a bank, you can't take the money back later and say, never mind. So he had 2 years to do his job, and we were less safe for his election, and so we're going to hold him accountable. And look, it'll ultimately be up to the General Assembly to make a recommendation how we're going to deal with our DA. But he clearly is he is a progressive DA in a county that needs an aggressive DA. And so we're just going to, we're going to lay the evidence out there. We'll let the General Assembly make a decision.
So the way it works here in Tennessee is the district attorneys are elected to 8-year terms. And in the Shelby County, District Attorney Mulroy is in the middle of an 8-year term. But his conduct in terms of failure to prosecute criminals is, well, I mean, it's the worst that I've ever seen. And I think that's what motivated you to begin actions to. Now, what would the Tennessee General Assembly do? Do you have the constitutional authority to remove him as district attorney?
We do, Michael. The Constitution allows for the General Assembly to remove DAs and judges, and those are the only two offices that are specifically given to the General Assembly for removal. And I think the framers did that because they knew that 8-year terms, nearly a decade-long term, was a dangerous thing and that someone needed to hold them accountable. So they delegated that responsibility to the General Assembly to hold them accountable and to remove them for cause. And the cause is whatever the General Assembly says it is. And so my critics will say that this is, overturning an election and that it's an abuse of the Constitution. It's actually a use of the Constitution.
It's a use of the Constitution. Now, does it require a majority vote or a 2/3 vote in both?
It would be a 2/3 vote. And what will happen is the General Assembly, they will appoint a committee, 5 members from the House, 5 members from the Senate. They'll review my allegations, and they can do their own investigation. They'll have subpoena power. They'll actually be able to dig deeper than I've been able to do with subpoena power. And then they ultimately will make a recommendation to the General Assembly for removal or not removal. And so I'm going to lay the evidence out there. I trust the wisdom of the General Assembly, and we'll see what happens. But look, this was an important conversation to have. And look, if in a crime-ridden city like Memphis, if you're going to make Memphis matter, then I have to be willing to be like a bong. I've got to take some hits to try to bring it down. And so I'm willing to do that.
Boy, the phrase, the hits just keep coming. The language, it's great. I love it, Senator Taylor. Now, let's talk about the district attorney having wide discretion in prosecution, according to Tennessee state law. What would be an example of the most egregious violation of his duty by District Attorney Mulroy? Just give us one. I know there are dozens, but what strikes you as the most egregious example of his violation of his duty as District Attorney?
Well, I think there's several. One of which was an egregious violation that he committed, dealt with a defendant by the name of Courtney Anderson. And Courtney Anderson was convicted and received a 163-year sentence. And his office and the judge colluded and illegally commuted a legal sentence of 163 years in prison to time served, and the guy was let out of prison. And it was quickly overturned by the Court of Criminal Appeals, and the sentence was reimposed, so he had to go back to jail. But in that opinion overturning that decision, the appellate court said that the DA's office and the judge colluded, and they illegally commuted the sentence. And those aren't my terms. Those are terms used in the opinion by the appellate court. And Judge Skane was reprimanded for her actions, and the Board of Professional Responsibility is currently investigating DA Mulroy's office as it relates to that case. And that's something that the General Assembly will need to look at. You know, do we want a DA that has a whole office that is dedicated to going back and looking at past cases and trying to get criminals out of jail? That he should be putting criminals in jail, not getting criminals out of jail.
Now, I think politically, the wind is at your back on this issue, and I'll tell you an example. You probably watched this at the election on Tuesday. There was an election in Los Angeles, California, of all places, where the soft on crime district attorney, George Gascon, a Soros-funded district attorney, was basically kicked out of office by the voters by a huge margin, like 23%. That tells me that even in a liberal city like Los Angeles, people are sick and tired of district attorneys who are soft on crime. Your thoughts on that, State Senator Taylor?
No, absolutely. I'm glad you raised that, because I was going to raise that point as well, and that is that the rest of the country that have these Soros-funded DAs, they are finally waking up and making changes in the DA's office. And don't forget, they had the liberal Soros-funded DA in San Francisco that was lost a recall election. George Gascon, I think he survived a previous recall election, but he lost this past Tuesday in a 22-point defeat. And there have been other Soros-funded DAs across the country that have lost their jobs as well. So the public is beginning to wake up to this. And look, it's common sense, Michael. There will always be crime and increases in crime until there are consequences for committing crime. And once there are real consequences, that's the only way we're going to be able to bring down crime. So we have to put people in these offices that are serious about fighting crime. Look, D.A. Mulroy down here, he is committed to the restorative justice schemers like Decarcerate Memphis and Just City, and they want to try to rehabilitate every criminal. And look, if they want to try to save souls, I would recommend he resign his office, join the ministry, and he can go about saving souls. But we need to leave the prosecution of criminals to serious people who are serious about reducing crime.
When was the last time you met in person with District Attorney Mulroy, and what was that like?
I was the last time I saw him was about a month ago. Senator Paige Wally had a picnic over in Hardeman County, and lo and behold, I look up, and here comes D.A. Mulroy, who couldn't have found Hardeman County unless he had a GPS and a tank full of gas. But he shows up in a flannel shirt and some boots, trying to be something he's not. And he stood out as a sore thumb at Senator Wally's campaign event.
Did you exchange words with him?
He was there for no other purpose than to try to curry favor with Senator Wally with this pending resolution coming up next.
Did he talk to you or ignore you?
Oh, I made him talk to me. I mean, I took him on as a project. I went up and told him I was surprised to see him there, and he referred to me as his former friend.
And on that note, State Senator Taylor, I think he will become the former district attorney down there in Memphis.
I'll tell you what, I will be.
We got to head out.
Hard to
State Senator Taylor,
happen.
Come in studio next time you're here. We really appreciate all your hard work.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. And look, for all your listeners out there, just know that crime down in Shelby County is tough, but we are hanging in there like a crackhead's last tooth, and we're going to do something about it.
All right. Thanks, Senator Taylor.
All right.
We'll be back with
Thank
more
you.
after this.
All right.
Hey there, this is Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of The Glock Store. As a proud sponsor of this show, you may have heard Michael Patrick Leahy mention us a few times over the past 4 years. But today, it's me on the radio telling you how pleased we are to be associated with Michael Patrick Leahy and his dedication to the highest levels of professional journalism. Michael Patrick Leahy has been threatened with jail time in bringing the true facts about that Nashville Covenant shooting to his listening audience. Michael Patrick Leahy, you keep doing what you're doing, and we here at the Glock Store will keep sponsoring your show for the good of Nashville and the entire country. And I'm personally inviting all of your listeners to come visit and shoot at the Glock Store. It's where Michael Patrick Leahy learned to shoot a gun for the first time and where he bought his own personal Glock 19. I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of the Glock Store here in Nashville, just minutes from the airports, worth the drive from anywhere, and a proud sponsor of Michael Patrick Leahy and the Tennessee Star Report.
And welcome back
to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. We are delighted to be with you. We have a terrific program in our second hour. We'll be joined by, I think you've heard him before on some of our advertisements, by Sean Farage. Sean is originally from Long Island, saw the light, moved to state income tax-free Tennessee, and he's the one who does the voice of Donald Trump on these ads that you hear from our friends at DT McCall's. And, oh boy, does he have a story to tell about everything. And so we look forward to having him here in the next hour. Okay, so it has been, how should we say this? It has been, well, personally, I have to tell you about how happy I am because of the overwhelming landslide victory of Donald J. Trump. And just terrific. For me personally, I've spent the last 16 years of my life dedicated to this moment, frankly. And it started back in November, late November of 2008, when I started Top Conservatives on Twitter, and we organized a community using Twitter, and that led to the Tea Party movement, of which I was one of the early organizers. And that, that Tea Party, April 15th, 2009, saw 1 million Americans rise up and in 1,000 communities and talk about what they wanted our country to be about. Not about giveaways, but about constitutionally limited government, fiscal responsibility, and free markets. And the mantle there has been taken over by Donald Trump. And of course, as you know, the Tea Party movement powered the takeover of the House of Representatives in 2010, a net gain of 63 seats. We gave that to John Boehner, the Republican, and he did nothing with it. And then, we had 2 terms of Obama. And then in 2015, Donald J. Trump started the America First movement, Make America Great Again. And his themes were very similar to the Tea Party movement, with one caveat. Number 1, constitutionally limited government. Number 2, fiscal responsibility. Number 3, a caveat on free markets, free and fair markets. And that's really where everything got off track, right? When the elite globalists sold out the average Americans by cutting these deals where they made tons of money on low-end labor from China and basically supplanted American manufacturing, that was wrong. And Donald Trump, starting in, I think it was May of 2015, it's been that long, got that terrific victory in 2016. 2020, what happened? Joe Biden got 81 million votes. Hillary Clinton only got 66 million. Kamala Harris only has 67 million. Where did those 14, 15 million votes disappear to? Were they ever there? I don't think they were. But Donald Trump now, with this terrific victory, 312 electoral college votes, a $4.5 million vote surplus. That's what you call a mandate to implement the America First agenda. We're all for it. Now, the left is going crazy. and they're providing evidence to us of their craziness every day. Here is clip 2, former United States Senator from Missouri, Claire McCaskill, showing just how disconnected from reality she is. Here we go.
Yeah, I think Donald Trump turned out that he knew our country better than we did. And I'm not sure I agree with a lot of what Joy said, but I think a lot of this is not the candidates, it's the country. And I think Donald Trump understood that what he could do, and I don't think his mistakes were mistakes. Mm-hmm. I think his mistakes were strategic and turned out to be right on the money, because I think our party, I grew up in a party where we were for the underdog. We were for the little guy. We are now the elite. We are no longer seen as the party for the little guy. He was seen as the party for the little guy. He was seen as the ultimate disruptor. And yes, the edges were very rough, but in everyone's own minds, they sanded them down to the point of acceptability. And as it turns out, there's a lot of craving in America for fear and anger. A lot of craving for fear and anger.
Yeah, it's fear and anger of the American people that drove it. No, it's not. It's the support of traditional American values and the American Constitution. Now we have another clip. We'll get a little bit of this in, of the crazy people at The View. Clip 3. They are whining and complaining about this, blaming America for this result. Here we go. Clip 3, The View.
Was red.
Yeah.
It was pretty red last night.
I don't know. I'm profoundly disturbed. I think if you look at the New York Times this morning, the headline was America Makes a Perilous Choice. I think that in 2016, we didn't know what we would get from a Trump administration, but we know now. And we know now that he will have almost unfettered power.
Okay, so I got to stop it. I mean, the one thing that Sunny Hostin said there that's great, she is profoundly disturbed. Yes, she's profoundly disturbed. All these crazy meltdown people on the left, they are profoundly disturbed. Now, do we make fun of them, or do we try to help them regain sanity? We make fun of them for a while, but then we try to help them regain sanity. I think many of them are lost causes, but they are not in the majority. And that's a key point. When we come back, our good friend Sean Farash will join us. Yes, he's a guy that does the Trump impersonation. Back after this. Okay, set up Sean. He does not...